Today I'm in North Woolwich, looking at King George V Station. But that's not all there is around here. This is a pretty good place for abandoned railway stuff in general, and I'll be taking a look at some of that as well. King George V is one of the Docklands Light Railway's newest stations, opening in 2005 on the DLR's branch to Woolwich. There's an odd thing with Woolwich, where you have North Woolwich and regular Woolwich, and they're on different sides of the river, and in different boroughs. I'm not aware of anywhere else in London that does that. You might get pretentious residents of St Margaret's pretending they live in Richmond, and the Millwall Extension Railway tried to pretend that Millwall was North Greenwich, but it never caught on. Anyway, King George V is in North Woolwich, not regular Woolwich. It takes its name from one of the Royal Docks. The Royal Docks were an attempt to keep the Port of London competitive with other ports in Britain. Enormous purpose-built docks capable of holding even the biggest ships from all over the world. King George V was the last of these to be built, being begun in 1912 and completed in 1921, with a significant delay due to the First World War. But despite being intended as the last word in port facilities, the docks did get overtaken. The advent of containerisation resulted in truly enormous cargo vessels that the London docks couldn't hope to handle. Cargo moved downriver to Tilbury and the docks went into decline. King George V closed in 1981. Subsequently, part of the dock would be converted into London City Airport, and that's how we got King George V Station. The airport opened in 1987. Now, in the 80s, there was this weird belief that the existing roads in the Docklands would be able to handle the new developments that were planned to replace the port. Given that there had once been an extensive railway system to serve the port, the question arises, what were they thinking? By 2000, the airport was seeing 1.5 million passengers a year, which was projected to double within the following 5 years. Already the roads were having trouble with airport traffic. A rail link was needed, and the obvious choice was a branch off the Docklands Light Railway. Incidentally, the DLR is another legacy of the road-centric thinking of the 80s. It was a compromise after the government refused to pay for a tube line. Bizarrely, it was considered that the airport would not, in itself, justify the cost of the branch line. However, perhaps somewhat optimistically, it was believed that redevelopment in the area would create increased demand for the line. Therefore, this gave the plan the push it needed to get built. For part of the line, it loosely follows the route of the old Silvertown tramway, which is, of course, long abandoned. But after West Silvertown, it kind of zooms off and does its own thing. This section of the railway is entirely new. So despite this being King George V, it does not replace King George I, II, III and IV. The line opened in 2005, at which time King George V was the terminus. In 2009 it was extended in a tunnel under the river, all the way to Woolwich Arsenal, where it was hoped that it would take pressure off the main line railway station, and also bring economic benefits to the area. As for King George V, the new developments around here have been slow to arrive. But that's okay, because it means there's lots of cool abandoned stuff to look at. Well, I mean, it's okay if you have a YouTube channel anyway. I don't know about everyone else. Now, even though King George V is a new station, although it's nearly 20 years old now, and oh goodness I am reminded of my own mortality, it's not the first station around here. About 5 minutes away, en route to the ferry pier, is North Woolwich. North Woolwich Station must be one of the best preserved abandoned stations in London, and in fact I've already done a video on it, which is around this channel somewhere. It was built by the Eastern Counties and Thames Junction Railway as the terminus of their line from Stratford, and also ran services to Palace Gates in North London. Palace Gates is also now closed. You might know North Woolwich as the extremity of the North London link, which it became part of in 1979 in an attempt to give the area better connections. However, this was not a fantastic connection, as it offers a pretty circuitous route around London that never hits the city or the West End. In the 2000s, the link was cut off with the construction of the DLR branch to Stratford International, which took over the section from Canning Town to Stratford. And so, in 2006, the station was closed. I should also mention the Railway Museum, which used to be in the original station building, but that went in 2008. Interestingly, in the early planning stages, King George V was to be named North Woolwich, and it strikes me as strange that it never was. The distance between the two stations was about a 5-minute walk if you're taking it slow, and they only overlapped by about a year, so the planners must have been aware that North Woolwich was going to close when King George V opened. I guess it's a mystery. Something I didn't do in my video on North Woolwich was visit Royal Victoria Gardens. These were built, in part, as an additional attraction for railway passengers. But something I didn't realise is that these gardens let you get up close to the old ferry pier. Before it was operated by the local authority, the Woolwich Ferry was operated by the railway company, and this was their pier. It's very dilapidated. In fact, as you can see, I was able to stick my arm through a hole in the wall to get an interior view. I'm honestly surprised that it survives, but I'm glad it does. Also in cool abandoned stuff, remember I mentioned that there was an extensive railway system serving the docks? Well, most of it has been pulled up or built over, but at North Woolwich there are quite a few surviving bits. There are footbridges at either end of King George V Station. From the eastern one you can see this length of track inside the airport enclosure. From the western one, in the distance, you can see this bit of crossover. Walk up Woolwich Manor Way, and inside the gateway there is a single rail set into the road. Then climb the bridge and you hit the motherlode. Not only are there extensive surviving tracks on both sides of the road, but what appears to be a goods platform. I found this map from the 1980s in the North East London Polytechnic's book Docklands, which indicates that there were warehouses here, which is presumably what was on top of those platforms. I've often thought I'd like to cover the Port of London Authority railways in more detail one of these days. Let me know if that would be of interest. Now, until fairly recently, this area was occupied, so I suspect that it may be earmarked for development in future. I hope not, for the once again purely selfish reason that I like old railways. So that is the story of King George V. Except there's not much to say about King George V, so really it's the story of just about every other form of transport in the area. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If so, please do leave a like and consider subscribing for more. The story of how King George V was not named North Woolwich is one of the mysteries around this branch of the DLR. I'm planning a video in the near future dealing with another of them, so keep an eye out for that. I would like to thank my donors on Ko-fi, on Patreon, and here on YouTube for your generous support. You are the platform to my warehouse. And I'll see you all again very soon. Cheerio.